This is Hen 1, New York Central. Can I have a radio check? Over.
New York Central hears you loud and clear. How do you hear New York Central? Over.
I hear you loud and clear. My location is 133rd and 7th. My condition is normal, and I am now ready to stand in as New York Central. Over.
New York Central copies that. Except for a code red transmission, New York Central is conducting a 24-hour drill. Repeat. Except for a code red transmission, New York Central is conducting a 24-hour drill. JWJ2 is standing down from New York Central. Hen 1 is now standing in as New York Central. Is that a copy? Over.
That's affirmative. Except for a code red transmission, New York North Channel is conducting a 24-hour drill. JW 2 is standing down from New York Central. Hen 1 is now standing in as New York Central. The time is now 12:02. This is New York Central standing by.
is JWJ 1611, over.
This is New York Central. Go ahead, JWJ 1611, over.
Can I get a radio check, over?
New York Central hears you loud and clear. How do you read me, over?
JWJ 1611 hears you loud and clear. My location is 115 Park Avenue, and I am safe. Is that a copy?
That's a copy, JWJ 1611. You are at 115th and Park Avenue, and your condition is safe, over.
JWJ 1611, standing by.
New York Central standing by. The time is 12:09 p.m.
This is Unit 5 calling New York Central, Unit 5 calling New York Central for radio check, okay?
This is New York Central, Unit 5. I hear you loud and clear. How do you hear me, over?
New York Central loud and clear. My present location is 122 between 9 and 8 Power, Preparedness Business Boulevards, okay?
That's a copy. Your present location is 122 between Frederick Douglass and Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard, over.
Your transmission was very, very low. I could barely hear what you were saying, New York Central, okay?
That's affirmative. I will modulate a little bit louder. So you said that your location was 122nd between Frederick Douglass and Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard, over, and your condition is normal, over.
No, I can't hear you at all. I can't hear you at all, New York Central. I can't hear you at all, okay?
Okay.
Hello.
No? Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes.
Okay, good. Good.
How
All
are
right,
you?
well, I'm good. I'm good. Well, welcome to our first live broadcast of New York North Radio Network. So we're going to be live on Facebook and YouTube till 1400 hours, and we've done radio checks so far with JWJ2, with JWJ10, JWJ1611, Unit 5, and Nando on the Go. And now Coed 1.
Yes. Well, I checked in earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So this is good. This is
Yeah.
what we do. See what we have a chance to do. I've added a little Christmas cheer.
Yes, yes, I like that. I like that.
So yeah, this is what we do. I had a really interesting conversation with a longtime friend of mine, and she was asking about emergency preparedness. What do you do in case of, systems, phones going out? And
Mm-hmm.
telling me how adamant her family members, the older members, were about not even getting cell phones. And I'm trying to impress upon them that there's all kinds of companies that's giving out free cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
Do all kinds of things, everything that the Apple 8 9 does, if there's a 9, you know,
Mm-hmm.
does all of that. It emails, it texts, and you can go on, your two-way radio systems through there. And
Mm-hmm.
they adamantly refuse. So the message is, you know, I know there's a lot of people that don't want to get involved in social media, but this is not social media. This is a way of communicating with your
Mm-hmm.
family, your close friends in the event something happens. And the landline systems that they have go down,
Mm-hmm.
so it's just a matter, you just got to keep punching it home. And I don't know why so many people are adamantly resisting that, but that may be your only option.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And this is a good time for people to just start thinking about their emergency preparedness. This is going to be a quiet Christmas season for most people, going to be spending more time at home. And so it's a time to just think about, you know, how are you prepared? Are you prepared if you'd have to stay in your home for extended period of time, which is a much more likely possibility now? We've already talked about the fact that New York State could go down on another full shutdown the way the numbers are going. And so, have you planned? Do you have all your food supplies? Do you have your medical supplies? Do you have your immune boosting supplies? Do you have your prescriptions? All of those. Do you have all the things necessary to keep you safe from COVID-19, which includes masks and sanitizer and hand wash and all of those things. Now is a good time to think about all of those, and at the same time, think about what you would need to do if you had to leave your home. Um, you spent years teaching people how to put go bags together. There are a lot of people who have gotten those trainings, but either haven't paid attention to them, or there are some people who made a go bag and haven't looked at it for 3 or 4 years, and they don't even know what's inside it. But in a situation where you'd have to leave your home critically, that bag is literally a lifesaver. So those are the things that I hope people are taking a little time to think a little bit more about.
Yeah, and if you have one, especially if you've been to one of my presentations, Bob's presentations, New York City Emergency Management, the Governor's Preparedness Program, go bags are involved. If
Hmm.
you have one, you need to go in the closet and pull it out, check it,
Hmm.
and you
Hmm.
need to personalize it. Get
Hmm.
all that information that you need, vital information, copies. Don't put any original documents, but copies of your medical card, your IG. Um, if you have a passport, that front page of your passport. If you have a driver's license or a non-driver's license, a copy of your medical documents, your Medicaid, Medicare cards, clinic cards. Put a little food, a little water in there, non-perishable foods, something
Hmm.
to snack on in the event that we're just coming out of hurricane season. But if you can see the way the weather is going, you'll know that there's always a possibility for something else happening. And in the event that you have to leave in a hurry, you will have that stuff in your bag. You will be able to identify yourself. That is
Hmm.
the most important part. Medications. If you take medications, take the printouts from your medications, put that in the bag. The printout is usually on all refills, and put that in your bag so that you can identify um, the medications that you take. And, clothing, sweater, socks, shirts. Women, we wear leggings, roll up those leggings, and underwear, toiletries. You can go to dollar store and get the little small toiletries and put that in there. A book, a game. We all have these little electronic games now. You know, um, if you have a phone charger, put that in there. Make sure you have your USB cord. And a bottle of water, a snack, some dried roasted peanuts, dried fruits. Watch out for the sugar and the salt if you have high blood pressure or you're diabetic. But these are the essential items that need to be in the bag. And specifically, we prefer that you find out if there's some place that you can go. Because if you have to leave in a hurry, it's always best to stay with a relative. It's always best to stay with someone close to you. They need to know you're coming, though. You can't just say, well, I know I can go to my son's house anytime I want. Your son may not be home. Do you
Hmm.
have to, you know, fires,
Hmm.
big emergency in every year. And, when fires happen and people have to go out, sometimes your apartment is not damaged, but the building has to be evacuated. You may have to go to a shelter. And so these things are important to know and to have ready.
Hmm. Absolutely.
So I know, as I said, if there's anybody out there that's been to our presentations, you already have a starter kit. You
Hmm.
just need to personalize it and make
Hmm.
sure that things are in there. It doesn't take a lot. You can put all your ID on one sheet, have it copied, take it, have it copied. If there's a shop around you that will laminate it, that's even better. But just to have those little things, get yourself a little Tupperware container. They have the little um, containers of milk and cereal. Just make sure of the expiration dates, even the water. The water doesn't expire, but the bottles do. So you want to get stuff that has a far off expiration date. Keep those items in your bag, something to keep you occupied. If you have children that you take care of, your grandchildren, or you babysit, it's important to have a go bag for them too. You need to talk to their parents to construct a go bag. Because one thing about emergencies, you never know when it's going to happen. And if it happens while that child is in your care, they're going to need their own items, their favorite toy, coloring books, something to keep them occupied. If they take medication, those copies, just like the adult bag, should be in there you know, make a plan, show them how to grab the bag. If you have to go in a hurry with kids, you can actually turn it into a sort of a game, make it so that the child can carry their own bag and sort of make it like a game, do little drills. Okay, when grandma says we have to go or run, you instruct that child, grab their bag, run straight to the door.
Hmm.
So,
And it's actually great training to teach young kids early on about being emergency prepared. It's something that if you teach kids young, they have a lifelong skill. They have a lifelong mindset about preparation, and it's really important. It's when you know I was kind of first introduced to emergency preparation through Wali Abdul Noor, who is really founded, you know, mostly all the networks that we're connected with, Harlem Emergency Network, WHCR Emergency Broadcast Team, New York North Network, South Bronx Emergency Network. And so when we, as part of that, we received training from the city, this CERT program, Citizens Emergency Response Training. And that training was really eye opening because it really gave me to understand how little I actually knew about being prepared for emergencies. And that was a great grounding in terms of understanding um, not just personal preparation, but how things worked in terms of the city, understanding safety protocols in the subways, and understanding how fire and emergency responders did things, and understanding what the language of emergency preparedness was, how people communicate, incident command structure, all these things we've learned. Um, but underlying all this stuff is just some basic common sense that really can help keep you safe in an emergency, and that's what we try to keep it simple, but it's basic common sense, um, and and a basic understanding that in an emergency situation, resources are stretched to the limit, and you're on your own. Your responsibility is to take care of yourself, your family, loved ones, neighbors, but first and foremost, you have to take care of yourself. It's like being on the airplane. What do they say? When the oxygen mask drops, you got to put it over yourself first, because if you're not in a position to save yourself, you're certainly not saving anybody else. So, it's really I am really proud of the organizations that have gotten together, and New York Radio Network to now do regular drills like this. This is a 24-hour drill encompassing 4 or 5 different organizations that are united on a single network, and we do this to test the resiliency so that when something occurs, we can immediately connect and to be able to communicate to as many people as possible. And so the radio checks will be going on for a 24-hour period. This is a small portion of it. We're going to be live on Facebook and YouTube just for a 2-hour period, actually 1 hour left. We've already been on for an hour. And we do the radio checks live. As a matter of fact, I'm going to just take a second and just do a quick blast to the network. So if you could hang on a second, Carol. This is New York Central, live on the New York North 24-hour radio drill, calling all stations for a radio check over. New York Central is on the air till 1400 hours. New York Central rather, standing by. So I'm glad you jumped on to join me here. The last time we did this at the last radio check, we did it at 2 in the morning.
Yeah. But it's so vital, especially since we are in a public health emergency.
Mm-hmm.
So, when we look at emergencies, it encompasses so many things: public health,
Mm-hmm.
acts of God,
Mm-hmm.
the fires, your own personal emergency if something happens. And why we keep stressing this, everyone has had something happen to them where they had to act quickly and they didn't know what to do. And generally, you will make mistakes and you will make multiple mistakes when you don't know. Those mistakes could be the course between getting out safely, surviving without injury,
Mm-hmm.
or mitigating it and lessening the possibility of being injured.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why we push this so hard. If you know something, it will kick in. Even though fight or flight and adrenaline and fear may come in, but it'll only stay for a few seconds. If you know something, that know how, that knowledge will kick in and you
Mm-hmm.
will act on it. But if you know absolutely nothing, do not sit back and assume, well, if a fire breaks out, I know I can get out of my. Don't assume that because you don't know where the fire is. If it's in the building, you don't move. You don't know. You need to understand what to do and how to do it. You know, I remember back years ago, 20, uh, 30 years ago, there was a situation here, and all the manhole covers along First Avenue where my complex is started blowing up to like the fourth floor. And this noxious fume was coming out. And my mother was upstairs. She was on the terrace. And I told her, you should come downstairs. Now knowing today what I didn't know then, that was the worst thing possible because she was safe. She was in the house, she was on the terrace, it was the summertime. But if those fumes, which were actually going under our building, had gone up into the elevator shafts and up into the um, stairwells, she could have been overcome by that gas. I
Mm-hmm.
know better today that where she was the best place she could be, on that terrace getting fresh air. She said she smelled something coming in the house, and when she smelled it, she opened up the terrace and went on the terrace. That was the best place she could have stayed. But I didn't know any better, but I know better today. And that's why it's so important, because you'll tell people to do things based on what you think is common sense, and you have no knowledge of the event or how to function at that point. And so you may be sending them into imminent death.
Mm-hmm.
But when you know, you'll know what to say, how to keep people calm in emergency, how to even guide them in the midst of their emergency, exactly what to do.
Yep. And you mentioned fire. One of the things I've learned from the CERT training was how quickly a fire can envelope a home. You really don't have a lot of time. By the time you realize that the signs of fire, which could be either your smoke detector going off, and remember that in order for your smoke detector to go off, you actually have to make sure that it's operational. Check those batteries, make sure it's working. Um, but from the time that smoke detector goes off, you might have 2 minutes or less to get out of your apartment, depending on how bad this fire is. And that's one of the reasons why the go bag is so important, because in a situation like that, you don't have the time to sit around and say, "Oh, I need to get this, I need to get that." You need to get out as soon as possible. And when you leave your home in an emergency, the idea of the go bag is that you don't know when you're coming back. You don't know if you're coming back. If you're talking about a fire, you don't know what's going to be what's going to be left to come back, and you don't have time to contemplate that when you're trying to get out and save your life. So having a go bag by your door ready to go in case of an emergency that you can just grab it, that has everything you need to keep yourself sustained over at least the next 2 or 3 days, um, is an important tool, a really important tool. And not only is it important to have it, but the process of putting it together makes you more prepared because you start to think about all the things that you actually need. Um, your
Right.
medicine, your, we wear glasses, having an extra pair of glasses, having copies of your ID, having,
Flat.
yeah, change of clothes, a fresh pair of socks, a hat, you know, it's winter time, so your go bags need to address the fact that you could be going out in some very difficult weather conditions. You want to keep your head warm. You want to keep your extremities, your hands and feet warm. You want to have something to read. Um, there are so many scenarios that you can't plan for in advance, but what you can plan for is what your needs are, and those are unique and individual to you. You talked about doing go bags separately for children, or for elderly, or for any type of special needs people that you have. And so each of those people might have different situations that you might have to plan for in advance and have certain supplies in that go bag. And so just going through the process of what is your emergency plan. If you've got multiple members in the household, it's a spouse, you have kids. Um, you want to have an advanced plan about where to meet, in case something happens. And we talk about scenarios. We've had these scenarios in New York. We had 9/11 here, where all the phones went down. We had Hurricane Sandy, when all the phones were out in various parts of the city. And so um, we take so much for granted that we've got these cell phones and we can just reach people. But the cell phones work based on an idea that there are a certain amount of people who are on the phone. No, it's very rare that everyone is on the phone at the same time, but that's what happens in an emergency. 9/11, immediately people started jumping on the phone to find out where their loved ones were, and it overwhelmed the system. And so it's important to understand that the systems that we take for granted for everyday operation, they have limits. And in emergencies, they get pushed to the limit. This is what's happening right now with the hospital system with COVID. They're literally running out of beds because in a normal situation, there are only a small percentage of people who are actually in the hospital. Now that we have a pandemic, and it's pushing the resources to the limit. Having a major event could push the communications resources to the limit. Having a blackout changes everything because now you don't all the things that we come to expect run on electricity. If that electricity is gone, what are we dealing with? And so you've got to be in a situation to carry on regardless of what's happening with whether you have phone service, whether you have electricity. If your electricity goes out, uh, there's a variety of things that means. It also means if you're in a high-rise building, that you don't have water pumping up, and so now you have water issues. What are you going to do if you're stuck in your home and you don't have enough water? You can go without food a lot longer than you can go without water. Um, how are you handling, do you have a way to handle waste? What happens if you're stuck in an apartment in a blackout and that becomes extended and you can't flush your toilet? What are you going to do? Um, when in New Orleans had Hurricane Katrina and everybody was in the Superdome, one of the things that was killing people was sanitation because there was no plan for how to deal with the human waste. And eventually it started piling up in places and creating, toxic, unsafe sanitary conditions. You know, no one likes to talk about this stuff, but it's really better to talk about it beforehand and have a plan for it than being stuck in the middle of it and saying, "Oh my God, what do we do?" Because you can't plan for an emergency in the middle of the emergency. You got to plan for it beforehand.
And that's why it's so crucial now, because everybody, because we can't go out the way we were going out. We don't have anywhere to go. I mean, really,
Hmm.
outside of just, grocery shopping or running to little malls and stuff like that. But in terms of entertainment, you're not really spending money now.
Hmm.
So this is the critical time to go to the dollar store. Everything we're talking about, you can get at the dollar store. A
Hmm.
first aid kit, you know, the little LED battery, flashlights. They last a lot longer. All of these things, socks, everything is a buck. You can get
Hmm.
all of that there. Plastic bags. You get a dollar poncho. You don't know if it's going to be raining.
Hmm.
Um, so all of these items can be purchased at a dollar store. And it's crucial because now everyone is using more energy than they were before. Everybody's on Zoom, on where we are, StreamYard, so you're
Hmm.
using a lot of energy across the world. And as Wale taught us, the phones never operate at 100%.
Hmm.
It says if they're operating at 30%, imagine when they get overwhelmed, and don't think that blackouts only happen during the summertime. They can happen any time of the year. I think in November, they had a blackout up in the Bronx for a few days. Out in Queens, they had a blackout. So these are the kind of things that you could be doing right now. When you go out to get that water, go out to get, those non-perishable items to put in your bag, and extra food to have. You have your shelter in place food, and you just have a few things in your bag. If you have to go to a shelter, it's going to be meager. You'll be fed, you'll have water, but the fact is you don't want to have to do that, because it will be the bare essentials. You'll have a cot. So, and that's why it's important to have someone else that you can go to, preferably not in your building. If there's a fire in the building, everybody has to evacuate. You can't go to your friend Grace's house on the sixth floor. So
Hmm.
you need to have somebody that you can go to stay with who's maybe across town. In this time right now, people aren't really traveling, so it's not even so much a matter of going to another borough. Um, you know, and the other thing is you want to have a hard copy phone book. Have people numbers written down in the event that something happens. You can call somebody every day. I guarantee you, if something happens and that adrenaline starts flowing and confusion, you will not remember your sister's number who you call every day. So if you have these numbers written down, you need an out of state connect. So, like Bob said, if I'm
New York
going to get
Central.
over home,
This is the line
call somebody in
read.
Jersey. You can call somebody in Delaware. You can let
Yeah.
them know what's happening.
1 second, Carol. This is New York Central. Vinoy one, go ahead. I read you loud and clear. How do you read me? Over.
Tonight, one here's New York Central loud and clear. My location is Fishkill, New York. My situation is normal, and I am safe. Over.
That's affirmative. Vinoy one, read you loud and clear. Your location is Fishkill, New York. Your situation is normal and clear. This is New York Central, standing by to 1400 hours. And also, we are live on Facebook and YouTube. New York Central standing by.
And that's how it works. It's that simple. This
Mm-hmm.
sister's calling from Fishkill. Something happens up there. She can get to us and let us know. We know where she is. We can send help to her. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's how it works. So, you have an option now. You have an option. We've been through blackouts, we've been through hurricanes, we've been through storms, we've been through a whole lot of stuff. But now we've never seen anything like this before. And
Mm-hmm.
this is the time to act. And again, we don't come to scare you, we come to prepare you. You will hear that over and over and over again. But it's funny, when I first started taking like active shooting more than 10 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
I never knew that it would actually come in handy. Where a friend of mine was in an active shooting situation not too long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And, I went on in Messenger and gave her some information. These are the things that you do. You hide, you shelter. Everybody got to grab something. You cut off the lights, turn down your cell phones, you know, in the event that someone's moving around the building. I never thought that we would actually see that, happening. And it
Mm-hmm.
began to happen in the schools. And, it's a scary thing to teach your kids about emergencies. And it was a scary thing to think that we had to teach babies how to stay safe, that they had to know, they had to grab something that they could handle and be prepared to fight for their lives. But that's the world we live in now.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it's just the way we live, so we just got to do what we got to do to stay safe and to help each other stay safe.
Mm-hmm. Now, you're a veteran of a few different emergencies. The ones that I kind of come to mind were there were two gas explosions in the last several years. One in East Harlem, which is your area, and also one in the East Village. And maybe you can talk a little bit about those experiences and what we learned about what what works and what doesn't work in an emergency.
Well, it gave me a chance to see how little people had been prepared. But what I did see with the East Harlem gas explosion, a feel good story, was that there was a family who had actually been in my presentation, and the mother wanted to leave. I had food there and I didn't want to start rumbling the floor because that would have been the end of the presentation. So it was like 5 minutes and she got antsy and wanted to leave. And so security came and told us she had to go. She had two daughters, 15 and 17, and she told the girls to come. But once they got out in the lobby, the 15-year-old came back in. 2 years later was the East Harlem gas explosion, and their building had to be evacuated. And she went home and got a makeshift go bag. You get the little tote bags at different events during the summer. And I was telling her also to get copies, put copies, pictures of her family members in her phone, put their names, their date of birth, their addresses, uh, any telltale signs, what color hair they wear, because sometimes people change their hair color. People have tattoos, some identifying marks. And also, you want to get a copy of the front of your rental agreement where it has your name, your signature, and um your address. That's it. And so she was at home when her building began to shake, and she grabbed her bag and she left. She was the saving grace for her family, because it's really heartbreaking when people come to a shelter and they have to prove who they are. Now I can stand there and say, I'm Carol Johnson. Prove it to me. I take this medication. Prove it to me. But she was able to bring that information with the sister, with the mother, and say, this is my mother. Here's her picture. Here's her date of birth. Here's her address. This is my sister. Here's this. Here's that. Here's so and so. She didn't have the lease. Oh, copy of keys. She did make a copy of her keys and she put that in the bag. But she had different things like medical conditions that they had. She just documented it with the mother or the
Mm-hmm.
sister. So this way, when they got to the shelter, she didn't have any medication for them, but she was able to give them the mother's name, the sister's name, tell them what doctors they went to, and they in turn were able to contact the medical facility and say, yes, we have a patient, Miss So and so, so and so. She takes blah, blah, blah. Then they would make arrangements to get that medication to her.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like a feel good moment. But to watch all the other people in despair and they just can't prove who they are
Mm-hmm.
and they have nothing and they may be hungry. Food comes, but the food's not going to be right there. And they're
Mm-hmm.
thirsty. The water's not going to be right there when they get there. Things take a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it was a feel good moment because I saw what we teach in action and how it made such a difference because of all the 70 some odd people that was in that service center that morning. She
Mm-hmm.
was the only one at 17 now who was actually able to begin the process of regenerating things that they needed, because even though their home was vacated, they still had items in the house that had been damaged. But she was the only one that was able to start the restorative process for her family in that
Mm-hmm.
shelter.
Mm-hmm. And that's a classic example of a go bag kind of emergency, something that happens if the fire department starts knocking on your door talking about gas leak, you have to move right now because you don't know how much time you have. And we just don't think about these things, but these gas lines run through all these buildings. And if 99% of the time they're safe, that small percentage where it's not safe, you have to make moves immediately because you don't want to be there if something goes off. I remember a situation I had in an apartment years ago where we had I had a real idiot super at the time, and I think I was having a new refrigerator put in, and they came in, and because of the way the guy was doing it, he accidentally severed the gas line in the kitchen when he was moving the refrigerator, and so flames were shooting out of the gas line. And so, he kind of acted like, oh, this is no big deal. We called the fire department. When the department came in, they were like, we have to shut this down. Everybody's got to get out of here. And they looked at the super like, you're an idiot. What are you talking about? This could burn the whole building down. So, the first responders, they're trained. They know, what the implications of things are. The average person doesn't know, but we have to be more aware and understand that when things happen, you have a limited amount of time to respond to things. And you don't want to be around if it escalates. And there's nothing in your apartment that's worth risking your life for.
Absolutely not. If something happens and they tell you to go, go.
Hmm.
That's why I suggest that you keep that bag near your door.
Hmm.
Most people kitchens are in the front of the house. If stick it under the kitchen table or whatever, but keep it close by.
Hmm.
Um, because most people don't die from flames. They die from smoke inhalation.
Right. That's
Another
right.
thing is that people want to get up and they get to the door. Oh my God, let me get my keys. You want to run back and get the keys. Oh God, I left my wallet. You want to run to the next building, to the next room and get your wallet. There's no time for all of that. That's another thing. See, there's so many things, even though when you get them in the bag and you look at the bag, it's like, okay, it's as complete as it can be. But
Hmm.
a few dollars, small increments of money, whatever you have, $2, $3, you know, put that in there. But you don't have time to run back and forth, and that's why so many people die from smoke inhalation, because they're moving back and forth. And in particular, if you're sleeping and you're awakened to a smoky condition, you don't know how long you've been inhaling that smoke. So
Mm-hmm.
you may wake up lethargic. You can't figure out anything, what to do. But if you keep that bag near your door, you know, if your lights are out, they have those little glow stickers. I have glow stickers on mine.
Mm-hmm.
The lights are out and I go downstairs, I see that little glow sticker. I recognize that I got to take this bag and I just got to get out of here. If
Mm-hmm.
you need a cane, get a little fold up cane. You get them online for $3. Like Bob said with glasses, these are readers,
Mm-hmm.
dollar readers, dollar store.
Mm-hmm.
Put a pair of them in your bag. Let it meet your needs. Whatever you know that you use on a regular basis, then you need to put that in that bag. And if you
Mm-hmm.
know you need glasses, then you can't put your reading glasses in there because you need them. So you go,
Mm-hmm.
you get something to read, you put on some readers, see how they feel, and get a pair of those and put them in there.
Mm-hmm.
But
So,
Bob, I'm gonna have to sign off.
okay. Well, appreciate you dropping on. I'll be on till 1400 hours, which is about 32 minutes. But this has just been a small portion. After we go off of this social media portion, this particular exercise will be going on till 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And just for people who want more information, you can check with us at Harlem Emergency Network, Harlem Emergency Network at gmail.com. Send us an email if you want to learn more about what we're doing. And just know that, we are using our resources to work collaboratively so that we can have better outcomes in event of an emergency, and we're not relying on our you know our local or state governments. We interact with them. We have the ability to interact with them in an emergency as well, but we want to make sure that we have enough local resources, because in a real dire emergency, you can't expect that resources are coming from anywhere else. We're on our own, and we're our best resources each other. And so that's what New York North Radio Network is about. That's what Harlem Emergency Network is about, and East Harlem COAD. There are so many of these organizations of dedicated people who are volunteering their time and effort to not only educate themselves and their neighbors, but to make sure that we have some systems and strategies and plans in place, so that in the event that we have something really serious, that we have the ability to respond to it and keep ourselves safe. So
And
that's
you
one.
always you have our information. If this is what you want to do, to help yourself, your family, your neighbors, however you want to work it. As Bob said, send us an email, Harlem Emergency Network at gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right,
So,
Carol. So I will see you soon. Yep.
as always, stay safe. Have a
Yep.
wonderful holiday. And I want to see you guys in 2021. Take care.
Amen. Okay. All right. Carol Johnson mentioned that fires are our number one emergency that happens here in New York City, and as you can probably hear, you know,
they happen every day. It's interesting because when you hear that siren, um, every time you hear a siren, it's impacting at least one family somewhere and maybe several more. And you don't think about those things, but you should think about it every time you hear it. I hope that a siren is never having to come to help you out of a situation. But if it is, you want to be prepared. So a lot of the things that we're talking about, I hope that you take those things to heart and prepare yourself. So I am going to do another radio check. This is New York Central for the New York North radio network. The time now is 01:32, or I'm sorry, it's 13:32, and we'll be here on the air till 1400 hours. So we are available for all units for a radio check. This is New York Central standing by.
300 Park Avenue for reader check. How do you read me?
300 Park Avenue, Citywide. Read you loud and clear. How do you read Citywide? Over.
I also read you 5 by 5.
Have a good day. Time is now 13:37. Good afternoon.
Copy that. Send to
Good
So
afternoon, Bob.
yeah, Wally, we're really doing it. So we're connecting the entire city now, huh? We got our network and the citywide network. We're ready.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yep,
we're growing. We're
yep,
growing. We're
yep.
growing. So how you
Well,
doing?
good. I'm glad you popped in. Carol just left a couple of minutes ago, but she was on for about half an hour. So I've been live on Facebook and YouTube since 1200 hours, and
Mm,
I just wanted to during this portion of our exercise to make sure that we also just tested our social media capacity to be able to also, spread the message and broadcast live. And so it's a good test that, of our resiliency during an emergency to be able to throw that in. And it's worked very well.
yeah, that's good. This is good.
Yep.
Like you
Yep.
said, we all over the place, huh?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So I've had radio checks from a lot of the people from JWJ, JWJ2, JWJ 1611, JWJ 10. Nando on the go checked in. Unit 5, Coad 1. So we're getting great engagement and participation during this particular segment. And, this is the second of our 24-hour drills. And I feel like each one, it gets tighter and tighter. And it's really a great resource for us to be able to connect multiple groups together in concert in real time, and with common protocols so that we all know and understand who we are and how to communicate during an emergency. And Carol, of course, is always great to have on because she just has just at her fingertips such great general information for people in terms of emergency preparedness. And I think that's helpful for some of the people who are tuning in on Facebook or YouTube who aren't, part of our core network, but like everybody else, wants to be safe during an emergency. And Carol shared some gems on just how to do it and what people need to do. So I'm feeling good about as we go into the holiday season in the middle of a pandemic, to not only have this exercise working, but also to just bring people's mindset back to emergency preparedness. And now is a good time because people are home for the most part and have a little bit more time on their hands to think about things. And it's a good time to just for everybody, even those of us who have been prepared, to just recheck our plans, see what's in our go bag, update things. How does your emergency plan now update as a result of COVID? People put go bag together, maybe 2, 3 years ago, but haven't thought about, okay, well, what are the things I need to put in the go bag relative to being safe for COVID? So, we're getting some good information out there, and it's really great to see the network really working very, very well.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And I guess it's best to be prepared and don't need it than to need it and don't be
Absolutely.
prepared.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. It's always better to have than not need than need and not have.
I think somebody's calling you.
Um, okay, I'm not hearing anything on the New York North.
Yeah, WEBT2 just called me.
Okay, that's interesting because I'm not hearing anything.
You're not hearing them? Let me get them.
Yeah.
WEBT2, this is line one, over.
Sir, one WBT2 Fondue for radio check. Levels is very low on my end. Over.
Okay, WBT2, this is New York North. I hear you now. I was not hearing you before. How do you read me now? Over.
New York North, I read you, I'd say 3 by 5. Level is low, clarity is high. Over.
That's affirmative. What is your location and status? Over.
WBT2.
That's affirmative. Your current location is New Rochelle, New York, and your status is safe. This is New York Central standing by to 1400. New York Central standing by.
It's affirmative, thank you, WBT2 standing by.
Yeah.
All right, so we still have a couple of glitches there. I didn't hear them at all the first time, but 1028. This is New York Central. I hear you loud and clear. How do you read me? Over. Hen 28. What is your location and status? Over. That's affirmative. Your location is 59th and West End Avenue. Your status is safe. This is New York Central standing by till 1400 hours.
Yeah, you were saying the glitches. That's the purpose of us having these drills so that we can um, work these glitches out. It's best to, have problems during a rehearsal than to have the same problems uh, in the actual time when we're trying to do something when it's really needed.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is like a learning process for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
You and like you bringing in a new aspect to it by bringing in the broadcast here,
Mm-hmm.
and this is we can figure out how this can play into the overall procedures that we're doing. You know, this
Mm-hmm.
is really good.
I'm really impressed with the newer participants that have been coming on with their energy and their commitment to doing this. And that's what makes it great is just to see people joining in and taking the time to learn the protocol so that we can do this in a way that's going to be effective.
You know. Well, there's a lot of people that are like-minded, but we've been in our own silos, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and people just have not connected. And I think that this is the way that people can connect. And it's not only for emergencies. I think this can help in everyday situations. Um, to me, it can be a crime deterrent. I mean, it has a lot of potential,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So to actually change our quality of life, because and when you look at it, when we start, pulling people together like this, and now what you're doing by bringing it to YouTube and Facebook, um, that's actually bringing it to the world. And again, if a person is going to take the time to sit and watch this, then they have to have some type of interest in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're starting to pull like minds together.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, that affects a lot of things, including politics,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and the way things are going to go.
Yeah.
You know, if, if we continue moving in the direction that we're moving, and you start seeing thousands of people on on your Facebook and on your YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
um, people want to talk to you. You know.
Yeah. And the thing that's important about it is whether there's 1,000 people on, or it could be one or two people, but in an emergency, that one or two people might be the people who need the information. And so that's what's great. It's also good just that we've tested the capability to just go on, be able to go on a moment's notice. This was an unannounced live stream, and so we've had people participate and put comments in and engage with it, and no one knew that this was coming. So it just lets us know that there is, we've got a response system, and that people can know that if there is an emergency, they can go to our social media pages and get some information and get it, and it can be live, it can be direct, and whether it's the video or whether it's the audio from our radio network, or whether people are sending in text information, whether we're connecting traffic cam information. In fact, that's one. While I'm here, let's see if I can actually test that out and see if we could bring up a traffic cam and put it on live. So, since we're testing the system, let's see what let's see how far we can go with this. We only have a few more minutes left on this, but I think that would be an interesting test right now to see if I can bring up the traffic cam. So let's see. Um, okay, cameras. Okay, let's see.
In the meantime, you got the fire department
Mm-hmm.
in the back.
Yeah, so we got the fire department. Let me see if I can bring up traffic cam screen. Uh, okay.
Wow.
Let's try to see if I can make it bigger. Let's see, how does it look?
Well, you can see it, but it'd be good if you could
Yeah,
make
if I can get it a little bit bigger. Let me play
yeah.
around with it.
In the confines of the cemetery, shots Receiving unconfirmed shots fired for 300 Mother Gaston, Liberty to Glenmore. Unconfirmed.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. All right. See how that looks.
Yeah,
Yes, that's better.
yeah.
I can take the banner down and all right. So there we go. We have a live traffic shot. That's from Lenox Avenue and 125th. So if this is an emergency, you know, we're in a situation where we're able to monitor that in real time. So if something was happening on one of those corners, we would actually be looking at it live, and that is live traffic that we're looking at on the air, 125th Street in Lenox right now. And you know, we can change that to a variety of different cameras. So let's see the other lists we have here. There are traffic cameras, you know, throughout the entire city, and so we have a lot of different choices here. Let's see.
And then
Here's 3 Nicholas Avenue, 145th Street. Let's see.
I'm getting 53 for the BQE in 35 Avenue eastbound.
and then the digital divide, they have cameras in your housing developments.
Right, exactly.
Highway 301.
Yeah, so this is 145th Street and St. Nicholas Avenue right now.
Mm.
So we've literally been able to cover ground and go to various spots in our neighborhood and even go to various spots in the city and do that live in the middle of our broadcast and do that on the fly while we're still connected to our New York North radio network, which is covered ground. We've had people check in from Fishkill, New York, from Newark, from the Bronx, from various locations in Harlem. And I'd say that's pretty impressive.
Right. Can you hear the background here?
I do hear it, yes.
So, added to what you just said, you have like the whole, all the dispatches from all the different boroughs of the fire department. You have the SOD. I'm trying to think of what the acronym is for it. Special Ops Division, which deal with your air planes, the boats on the river, and your emergency vehicles. You have the EMS. So, I mean, we really have opportunity here to coordinate and cover and get information out to people that is phenomenal from different sources, you know. And like you said, even you would say, a person would say, well, why would you want something from Fishkill? But like in the preparedness that Carol was talking about, one of the items is to have an out-of-town contact. And so, like, you had a out-of-town from Fishkill, you had an out-of-town from New Rochelle, and they may be lifesavers, you know. So, this is really phenomenal, and we just gotta keep it rolling.
Yep.
98 on my side, please leave the job open. Motor carrier will give you a front on his.
So we got 4 minutes left before I relinquish control to me, Brad 1. I'd say this is really successful. We stepped it up. Last time we kind of tested this, but we didn't go live. This time we tested the social media, we tested the traffic cam. Um, this is a good this is a good exercise.
Hmm.
And I'm also glad to see that this time we have more people to be able to break the time slots up, a little bit easier
Yeah.
than the last time.
Yeah, we got it down from 3 hours to two. Huh?
hmm That's a
Um,
big difference.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna. We're gonna be pushing for other groups,
hmm
and if they're on the air now, if you have a group that's interested in emergency communications, uh, yes, you can get in contact with Harlem Emergency Network, and we can see if we can sign you all up. We have training um, and equipment, and you know, you can be the eyes and ears for your group, your part of the city, your community. Um, so anyone that's interested, Harlem Emergency Network uh, is the contact point.
And people should also check us out. We do our Wednesday morning broadcast live here talking about COVID-19. And you can see on the screen we have more information. If you want to follow up with us, Harlem Emergency Network at gmail.com. You can leave us a message at 347-916-6119, and reach out to us. Like we tell people, we're not here to scare you, we're here to prepare you.
Okay, I'll be leaving you now.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us, and we will check back tomorrow with the hot wash from what so far has been a very successful exercise.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
thanks a lot. This is New York Central. The time is now 14:02. Calling Brad 1 for a radio check. Brad 1 for a radio check. Over. All right, so this is New York Central. I'm signing off from the social media portion of our 24-hour radio drill. I will continue as New York Central until relieved on our smartphone radio network. I am going to sign off now on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you for those who listened in and participated. And once again, if you're interested in Harlem Emergency Network, you can check the information on the screen and follow up on us if you want to learn more about how you can prepare yourself for an emergency. This is Hen 1 for New York Central, standing down from social media at 14:05.